My beloved child, before this message ends, you may discover why the season you are walking through feels so unusual. You have been asking questions. You have been waiting for answers. You have been wondering why certain things seem delayed, while other things around you continue moving forward. And perhaps there were moments when you quietly asked within your heart, "Father, are you still working?" My child, listen carefully, because what I am about to reveal may change the way you see this entire season. There are movements taking place around you that your natural eyes cannot yet see. There are doors being positioned. There are people being aligned. There are lessons being completed. And there are blessings being prepared. What feels like delay to you is often preparation in my hands. Stay with me. Do not leave this message halfway through, because later I will reveal one of the greatest signs that your breakthrough is drawing near. And it is a sign that many people completely misunderstand. Take a deep breath. Quiet your thoughts. Release your worries for a moment and allow my voice to speak directly to your heart. For I know exactly where you are. I know every burden you have carried. I know every prayer you have whispered through tears. I know every night you struggled to sleep because your mind was filled with questions. And my child, not one of those moments was unseen. Not one tear was wasted. Not one prayer was ignored. I have been with you through all of it. Even when you felt alone, even when you felt forgotten, even when silence surrounded you, I was there. My beloved child, one of the greatest mistakes people make is believing that I am only working when they can see visible evidence. But some of my greatest works begin in complete silence. Think about a seed planted deep within the soil. The moment it enters the ground, it appears to disappear. To human eyes, nothing seems to be happening. Days pass, weeks pass, sometimes even longer. Yet beneath the surface, life is already growing. Roots are stretching, strength is developing. Foundations are being formed. The seed is not dead. The seed is preparing. And my child, many times your life follows the same pattern. You have been watching the surface, but I have been working beneath it. You have been looking for visible change, but I have been strengthening things within you first. For what I desire to build through your life cannot rest upon weak foundations. The blessing I am preparing requires a stronger version of you. The future I have planned requires greater trust. And so before I elevate you, I prepare you. Before I increase your influence, I increase your character. Before I open larger doors, I strengthen your faith. James reminds you that the testing of your faith produces perseverance, and perseverance produces maturity. My child, do not despise this season. Do not rush through it. For many people desire the harvest while resisting the process that creates it. Yet everything healthy grows through preparation. Even my son spent years preparing before beginning his public ministry. If preparation was necessary for him, do not be surprised when preparation is necessary for you. But there is something else happening during seasons of waiting that most people never recognize. And when you understand it, you will begin seeing your struggles differently. Listen carefully, because this next truth may explain why certain doors have remained closed. My beloved child, I know there are doors you wanted to walk through, opportunities you hoped would appear, relationships you thought would remain, plans you expected to unfold differently. And when those things did not happen, part of your heart wondered why. Some moments felt like disappointment. Some felt like loss. Some felt like an answered prayer. But my child, not every closed door is rejection. Many are protection. I see what you cannot see. I know where every road leads. I know which paths contain hidden dangers. I know which opportunities would slowly steal your peace. I know which relationships would distract you from your purpose. And because I love you, I sometimes close doors that seem beautiful from your perspective. You see the present, I see the future. You see the opportunity, I see the outcome. You see what could be gained, I see what could be lost. Proverbs reminds you to trust in me with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. There are times when my mercy appears as delay. There are times when my wisdom feels like silence. Yet later, when the fog clears, you will see my hand. You will understand why certain things never happened. You will understand why certain people left. You will understand why some opportunities disappeared. And you will realize that what felt like rejection was actually divine protection. Stay with me, because what I am about to reveal next is something many believers struggle with. It concerns the silence of God. And understanding this truth can completely transform the way you wait. My beloved child, there are seasons when my voice feels close. Prayer feels easy, faith feels strong, hope flows naturally, but there are also seasons when everything feels quiet. You pray and hear nothing. You wait and see nothing. You ask and receive no immediate answer. During those moments, many people assume I have become distant. But silence does not mean absence. A teacher remains silent during a test, yet the teacher has not left the classroom. Likewise, there are moments when I allow your faith to grow beyond constant reassurance, not because I have abandoned you, but because I am helping your roots grow deeper. Deep faith is not built only through visible miracles. Deep faith is built when you continue trusting me even before the answer appears. When Abraham walked toward Mount Moriah, he did not understand everything. When Joseph sat inside the prison, he could not see the palace. When David hid in caves, he could not yet see the throne. Yet I was working in every one of those stories. And my child, I am working in yours as well. Even now, even today, even in the places where nothing appears to be changing. The story is not over. The answer is not finished. The preparation is not complete. And your breakthrough is not cancelled. It is simply moving according to my timing. My beloved child, in the next part of this message, I will reveal the hidden signs that often appear right before a major shift takes place. These signs are subtle. Many overlook them. Yet they appear again and again throughout Scripture. And once you recognize them, you will begin to understand what heaven may already be preparing in your life. Stay close, for what comes next may be exactly the confirmation you have been praying for. My beloved child, there are moments when heaven begins moving before your circumstances change. There are seasons when I start preparing an answer long before your eyes can recognize it. And because many people expect dramatic signs, they often miss the gentle indicators that I place along the path. Today, I want to open your eyes to see them. For some of these signs may already be appearing in your life. The first sign is often unexpected. It is not increased comfort. It is increased hunger. You begin longing for me more deeply than before. Things that once distracted you no longer satisfy you. Activities that once consumed your attention begin losing their grip on your heart. You find yourself wanting more quiet, more prayer, more truth, more of my presence. This is not an accident. When I prepare someone for a new season, I often deepen their spiritual appetite first, Before I pour fresh water into a vessel, I increase the thirst. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they shall be filled. My child, if you have recently felt a stronger desire to seek me, do not ignore it. That hunger is often evidence that your soul is being prepared for something greater. What once satisfied you can no longer satisfy you, because I am calling you higher. But there is another sign that confuses many believers. At first, it feels uncomfortable. At times, it even feels painful. Yet it often appears before significant breakthroughs. Listen carefully, because you may be experiencing it right now. The second sign is separation, my beloved child. Not every person who walks beside you is assigned to walk with you forever. There are relationships for seasons. There are relationships for lessons. And there are relationships for destiny. Sometimes, before I bring you into a new chapter, I remove certain influences from your life. Not because I desire loneliness for you, but because I desire growth. Abraham had to leave familiar surroundings. Joseph was separated from everything he knew. Moses spent years away from Egypt. Even my son often withdrew from crowds to prepare for what was ahead. Separation is not always punishment. Many times it is preparation. I know some departures have hurt you. I know some goodbyes came unexpectedly. I know there are people you thought would always remain, but my child, do not allow every ending to convince you that you are losing. Sometimes you are simply being repositioned. What I remove with purpose. What I allow to remain, I allow with wisdom. Trust me enough to release what I am asking you to release. For I can see what lies ahead. And now I want to reveal another sign. This one often appears right before a major shift. Most people mistake it for weakness. But in reality, it can be evidence that transformation has already begun. The third sign is conviction, my beloved child. Have you noticed yourself becoming more sensitive lately? Have you found certain attitudes bothering you that never bothered you before? Have you felt discomfort toward habits you once tolerated? Have you felt my spirit gently correcting things within your heart? This is not condemnation. This is transformation. Condemnation pushes you away from me. Conviction draws you closer. Condemnation says you are hopeless. Conviction says you are growing. When I prepare someone for greater purpose, I often refine their heart first. Gold passes through fire before it shines. Likewise, I refine your motives. I refine your thoughts. I refine your character. Not because I reject you, but because I love you. The areas where you feel conviction today will become the very areas where freedom appears tomorrow. Do not fear my correction. It is proof that I am actively working within you. For those whom I love, I discipline. And every act of discipline is rooted in love. Stay with me. Because the next sign is one that many overlook completely, and yet it appears repeatedly throughout Scripture. The fourth sign is holy dissatisfaction, my beloved child. Sometimes before I change your circumstances, I first change what your heart desires. Things that once seemed important suddenly feel empty. Achievements lose their shine. Temporary pleasures lose their attraction. Worldly approval no longer satisfies your soul. You begin realizing that what you truly need is not another accomplishment, not another possession, not another human affirmation. You need my presence. You need my peace. You need my direction. This dissatisfaction is not something to fear. It is often evidence that your spirit is awakening. For I did not create you merely to survive. I created you to walk closely with me. And when your soul begins longing for eternal things more than temporary things, it is often a sign that heaven is preparing your next season. Do not run back to old distractions. Do not return to empty wells. Allow me to lead you deeper. Allow me to reveal what truly satisfies. For those who drink from my living water will never thirst in the same way again. But perhaps the most powerful sign is the one I am about to reveal now. It often arrives quietly, without announcement, without dramatic evidence, yet when it appears, it changes everything. The fifth sign is peace before the answer, my beloved child. Many people expect peace after the breakthrough, but often I send peace before it. Before the door opens, before the miracle appears, before circumstances improve, I place a quiet confidence within your heart, a stillness, a calm, a deep assurance that cannot be fully explained. The world cannot understand this peace, because it does not come from circumstances. It comes from my presence. Philippians reminds you that my peace surpasses understanding. That means it exists even when understanding does not. You may not know how everything will unfold. You may not know when the answer will arrive. You may not know every detail of the future. Yet somehow, deep within your spirit, there is peace. That peace is often a whisper from heaven, a reminder that I am already working. A reminder that you are not abandoned. A reminder that the story is not finished, my beloved child. If you have experienced any of these signs, do not dismiss them. Look carefully, pray carefully, listen carefully. For I am often speaking long before circumstances begin to change. And what appears small today will become undeniable tomorrow. In the next part of this message, I will reveal why some prayers seem delayed even after heaven has already begun moving. I will show you what happens in the unseen realm during seasons of waiting. And I will explain why some of the greatest answers arrive after the longest periods of silence. Stay close, my child, because what comes next may completely change the way you view delay, disappointment, and divine timing. My beloved child, there is something I want you to understand about the prayers you have been carrying. The prayers whispered through tears, the prayers repeated night after night, the prayers you almost stopped praying because nothing appeared to be changing. Listen carefully, because many of my children misunderstand what happens after they pray. They imagine that if an answer does not appear immediately, then heaven must be silent. They assume that delay means denial. They believe that because they cannot see movement, no movement exists. But my child, there are answers that begin the moment they are prayed, even though they may not arrive the moment they are requested. There are blessings already moving towards you. There are circumstances already shifting. There are hearts already being softened. There are pathways already being prepared. Yet because your eyes are fixed on what has not happened yet, you miss the evidence that I am already working. Remember Daniel. When Daniel prayed and sought understanding, the answer was released immediately. Yet the manifestation was delayed. The messenger arrived and revealed something Daniel could never have seen with natural eyes. From the first day you prayed, your words were heard. My beloved child, understand this deeply. There are prayers you prayed weeks ago that I heard. There are prayers you prayed months ago that I heard. There are prayers you prayed years ago that I heard. Not one sincere prayer has escaped my attention. Not one cry of faith has gone unnoticed. Not one tear has fallen without being seen. The answer may not have appeared yet, but heaven heard you, and heaven responded. But if I hear your prayers, Why does waiting sometimes feel so painful? Why do answers seem delayed? Why do some seasons last longer than expected? Stay with me, because the next truth may heal a frustration you have carried for a very long time. My beloved child, sometimes I am not only preparing the blessing, I am preparing you. There are gifts you desire, opportunities you long for, promises you hope will appear, and many of them are good. But if they arrive before the proper season, they can become burdens rather than blessings. A tree carrying fruit before its branches are strong enough will break beneath the weight. Likewise, certain blessings require stronger roots. This is why I work on your character while you wait. I strengthen your patience. I deepen your faith. I teach you wisdom. I build endurance. I mature your heart, not because I enjoy making you wait, but because I love you enough to prepare you correctly. Joseph dreamed of leadership as a young man, but before the palace came the pit, before the throne came the prison, before influence came preparation. Every difficult season was building something within him. The prison was not punishment, it was preparation. The delay was not abandonment, it was development. And my child, the same is true for you. There are things I am teaching you now that will become essential in the season ahead. There are lessons that will protect you later. There is wisdom being formed that you will one day thank me for. Do not despise the preparation. One day you will see its purpose. But there is another reason some prayers take longer than expected, and this reason surprises many people. Because it involves something you often overlook. It involves trust. My beloved child, many people trust me with their problems, but struggle to trust me with my timing. They believe I can perform miracles, but they secretly doubt whether I will act at the right moment. Yet my timing is part of my goodness. Just as a loving father does not hand a child everything they request immediately, I also respond according to wisdom. I see what today cannot see. I know what tomorrow contains. I understand connections that remain invisible to you. There are people who must enter your story first. There are circumstances that must align first. There are lessons that must be completed first. There are doors that must close before the right door opens. When you only see a single chapter, waiting feels unnecessary, but I see the entire story. And because I see the whole story, I know exactly when the answer belongs. Ecclesiastes reminds you that there is a time for everything. Not only a promise, but a time for the promise. Not only a harvest, but a season for the harvest. Not only an answer, but an appointed moment for the answer. Trust my timing, even when it stretches your patience. Trust my wisdom, even when it challenges your understanding. Trust my heart, even when you cannot yet trace my hand. Now I want to reveal something that many believers miss entirely. Something that could change the way you view your waiting season forever. My beloved child, waiting is not wasted. Read those words again within your spirit. Waiting is not wasted. The world teaches you that productivity means constant visible progress. The world tells you that standing still is failure. But my kingdom operates differently. Some of the most important work I perform happens in hidden places. Roots grow hidden. Character grows hidden. Faith grows hidden. Wisdom grows hidden. The strongest foundations are often invisible. When Noah built the ark, years passed before rain appeared. When David tended sheep, years passed before the crown arrived. When Moses lived in the wilderness, years passed before his assignment began. Yet every hidden year mattered. Every unseen moment mattered. Every season of preparation mattered. And your hidden season matters too. Nothing is being wasted. Nothing is meaningless. Nothing is forgotten. Even now, I am using experiences you do not fully understand. I am weaving together details you cannot yet connect. I am turning pain into wisdom, waiting into endurance, disappointment into discernment, and weakness into strength. Romans reminds you that all things work together for good to those who love God. Not some things, not convenient things, all things. Even the parts you do not understand yet. Stay with me now, because what I am about to tell you may be exactly what your heart needs to hear. Especially if you have felt discouraged lately. Especially if you have wondered whether your breakthrough will ever arrive. My beloved child, do not compare your timeline to someone else's. Comparison is one of the fastest ways to lose peace. You see another person's blessing, but you do not see their preparation. You see their harvest, but you do not see their years of planting. You see the outcome, but you do not see the process. I am writing a unique story with your life. A different path, a different assignment, a different timing, a different purpose. Do not measure my faithfulness by what I am doing for someone else. Measure it by my promises. Measure it by my character. Measure it by the cross. Measure it by the countless times I have carried you before. The same God who helped you then is helping you now. The same God who opened doors before can open them again. The same God who made a way through previous storms is still guiding your steps today. Your story is not behind schedule. Your life is not forgotten. Your future is not lost. I am still writing. I am still working. I am still preparing. And what I have promised will arrive in its appointed season. My beloved child, in the next part of this message, I will reveal one of the greatest battles believers face during seasons of waiting. The battle that often happens inside the mind. The battle between faith and fear. The battle between trust and anxiety. And I will show you how to protect your peace while heaven continues working behind the scenes. Stay close, because the next truth may free you from a burden you were never meant to carry alone. My beloved child, there is a battle taking place within many hearts right now. It is not a battle that others can easily see. It does not always happen on the outside. It happens quietly within the mind, a battle between faith and fear. A battle between trust and worrying. A battle between what I have spoken and what circumstances appear to be saying. Perhaps you know this battle well. You wake up determined to trust me. You remind yourself of my promises. You pray. You surrender your concerns into my hands. And for a moment, peace settles over your heart. But then a thought arrives. What if nothing changes? What if the answer never comes? What if I fail? What if things become worse? Slowly, fear begins trying to reclaim the territory that faith had gained. My beloved child, I want you to understand something important. The presence of fearful thoughts does not mean the absence of faith. Even faithful people experience fear. David experienced fear. Elijah experienced fear. Peter experienced fear. Yet they continued walking with me. Faith is not the absence of fearful feelings. Faith is choosing to trust me despite them. Whenever fear speaks, you have a choice. You can agree with fear, or you can return to my truth. Fear always attempts to convince you that the worst possible outcome is inevitable. Faith reminds you that I remain sovereign over every outcome. Fear magnifies obstacles. Faith magnifies my power. Fear focuses on what could go wrong. Faith remembers who is walking beside you. But there is one weapon fear uses more than almost anything else. And if you do not recognize it, it can quietly steal your peace. Stay with me, because this next truth may explain why your mind sometimes feels exhausted. My beloved child, fear often disguises itself as constant mental replay. You revisit conversations. You replay mistakes. You imagine future problems. You create scenarios that have not happened. You try to solve tomorrow's challenges while still standing in today. And before long, your soul becomes tired, not because of what actually happened, but because of everything you imagine might happen. Worrying is often the attempt to carry a future that has not yet arrived. But I never asked you to carry tomorrow. I asked you to trust me today. My son taught this truth when he said not to worry about tomorrow. For tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough trouble of its own, my child. You were created to walk with me one step at a time. Not 100 steps at a time. Not 10 years at a time. Not every possible future at a time. One step, one day, one act of trust. One surrender at a time. The reason many hearts feel overwhelmed is because they are carrying responsibilities that belong to me. You were never created to control every outcome. You were never created to predict every future event. You were never created to manage the entire journey. That burden belongs to me. And in a moment, I want to reveal the hidden doorway through which peace enters the heart. Because many people search for peace in the wrong places. They search for it in certainty. They search for it in control. They search for it in perfect circumstances. But true peace comes from somewhere entirely different. Listen carefully, my beloved child. Peace is not found in knowing everything. Peace is found in knowing me. Many people believe they would finally rest if every question were answered. But even if every question disappeared, new questions would eventually appear. The human heart was never designed to find security in complete understanding. It was designed to find security in relationship with its Creator. That is why some people possess many answers yet remain anxious, and why others face uncertainty yet walk in peace. The difference is not circumstances. The difference is trust. Isaiah declares that I will keep in perfect peace those whose minds remain fixed upon me. Notice that the promise is connected to focus. Whatever occupies your attention eventually influences your emotions. If your mind constantly feeds on fear, fear grows. If your mind constantly feeds on hopelessness, hopelessness grows. But when your mind remains anchored in my promises, faith begins growing stronger than fear. This is why prayer matters. This is why worship matters. This is why my word matters. These are not religious activities. They are invitations to redirect your focus. They are opportunities to remember who I am. They are reminders that you are not facing life alone. But there is another trap many believers fall into during difficult seasons. And this trap often appears spiritual on the surface, yet it quietly steals joy from the heart. The trap is comparison, my beloved child. Comparison will always tempt you to question my goodness. You see someone else's blessing, someone else's promotion, someone else's relationship, someone else's answered prayer, and suddenly your own journey begins feeling smaller. Your own progress begins feeling slower. Your own story begins feeling less significant, but comparison only sees fragments. You see their success, you do not see their struggles. You see their harvest, you do not see their planting season. You see their celebration, you do not see their battles. I have not called you to live someone else's story. I have called you to walk faithfully within your own. The assignment upon your life is unique. The timing upon your life is unique. The path before you is unique. Do not allow another person's chapter 20 to make you despise your chapter 5. Trust the process I am leading you through. Trust the season you are currently walking in. Trust the pace at which I am working. Because my plans for you were never based upon another person's timeline. My beloved child, there may be moments when fear whispers loudly. Moments when uncertainty feels overwhelming. Moments when your faith feels small. When those moments come, remember this: you do not have to face them alone. You do not need perfect faith before approaching me. You do not need complete confidence before praying. You do not need every answer before trusting. Bring me your fears. Bring me your questions. Bring me your doubts. Bring me your burdens. Bring me the parts of yourself you try to hide from others. For I already know them, and I love you still. The Father in Scripture cried out, I believe, help my unbelief. And that honest prayer touched heaven. My child, I can work with honest hearts. I can strengthen trembling faith. I can heal weary souls. I can restore exhausted minds. What I cannot bless is the mask that pretends everything is fine when the heart is secretly breaking. Come to me honestly. Come to me openly. Come to me exactly as you are. And allow my peace to enter the places fear has occupied for too long. Stay close. Because what I am about to reveal in the next part may be one of the most important truths in this entire message. I am going to show you why certain disappointments were actually divine protection, why some closed doors saved you from unseen pain, why some delays prevented future regret, and why one day you may thank me for prayers I did not answer the way you expected. My beloved child, fear may knock at the door of your mind, but it does not have permission to rule your heart. For I am with you. I am guiding you. I am protecting you. And even now, while you cannot see every detail of the road ahead, my hand remains firmly upon your life. Rest in that truth and prepare your heart, because what comes next may completely change the way you view every disappointment you have ever experienced. My beloved child, there are disappointments in your life that still confuse you. Moments you do not fully understand, prayers that seemed unanswered, doors that remained closed, relationships that ended unexpectedly, opportunities that slipped through your fingers. And if you are honest, there may still be places within your heart asking, Father, why did that happen today? I want you to see something from a higher perspective. Not every disappointment was destruction. Some disappointments were protection. Not every closed door was rejection. Some closed doors were mercy. Not every delay was punishment. Some delays were preparation. You often judge events by how they feel in the moment. But I see where every road eventually leads. There are paths that appear beautiful at first, but slowly drain your peace. There are opportunities that look promising, but eventually lead you away from your purpose. There are relationships that feel exciting, but quietly damage your spirit. There are desires that seem good, but arrive at the wrong time. My child, because I love you, I sometimes protect you from things you are convinced you need. And when I do, the protection may feel painful before it feels merciful. But there is one story in Scripture that reveals this truth with extraordinary clarity. And once you understand it, you may never view delays the same way again. Stay with me. Because what happened next changed everything. My beloved child, remember Joseph. When Joseph received the dream I gave him, he likely imagined a direct path toward fulfillment. He saw the promise, but he could not yet see the process. The dream was true, yet the journey was difficult. He was betrayed by his brothers, sold into slavery, falsely accused, thrown into prison, forgotten by people he helped. Year after year, circumstances seemed to contradict the promise. If Joseph had judged my faithfulness only by his circumstances, he might have concluded that I had abandoned him. But I had not abandoned him. I was positioning him. Every setback was secretly becoming a setup. Every disappointment was moving him toward destiny. The pit led to the palace. The prison led to promotion. The delay led to fulfillment. And when the appointed time arrived, Joseph could finally see what had been hidden all along. My child, there are chapters in your story that may not make sense today, but one day you will see connections you cannot currently see. One day you will understand why certain things had to happen in a specific order. One day you will recognize my fingerprints on moments you once called disappointments. And now I want to speak directly to the wounds you still carry, the disappointments that still hurt, the losses that still bring tears, the questions that remain unanswered, because there is something your heart needs to hear. My beloved child, I never promised a life without pain, but I did promise a life without abandonment. Pain is real, loss is real, disappointment is real, but abandonment is not. I have never left you, not in your darkest night, not in your greatest confusion, not in your deepest heartbreak, not in your moments of weakness. Even when you could not feel my presence, I was there. Even when you doubted my plan, I was working. Even when fear filled your thoughts, I was holding your future. The footprints of my faithfulness remain throughout your story. Look back for a moment. Think of the seasons you thought would destroy you, the storms you believed you would never survive, the nights when hope felt distant, yet here you are, still standing, still breathing, still moving forward, still held by grace. That was not an accident. That was my hand. But there is another form of protection that many believers overlook, and it may explain why certain people disappeared from your life. Listen carefully, because this truth can bring healing to old wounds. My beloved child, some departures were necessary, not because those people were entirely bad, not because every relationship was toxic, but because every person is not assigned to accompany you into every season. There are people for beginnings, people for lessons, people for growth, people for specific chapters. And when a chapter ends, some relationships naturally change. I know that some departures hurt deeply. I know some goodbyes felt unfair. I know some endings arrived without explanation. Yet I ask you not to measure your worth by who stayed or who left. Your value was never determined by human approval. Your identity was never dependent upon another person's presence. Your worth was established long before they entered your story. You belong to me. You are loved by me. You are known by me. And no departure can remove what I have spoken over your life. Sometimes I remove people to protect your peace. Sometimes I remove people to strengthen your dependence upon me. Sometimes I remove people because I am preparing room for new assignments, new relationships, and new blessings. Trust me with the relationships you do not understand. Trust me with the endings you cannot explain. Trust me with the chapters that closed unexpectedly. For I am still writing your story, my beloved child. There are prayers you prayed that I answered differently than you expected, and perhaps that disappointed you. You asked for one thing. I gave another. You expected one path. I led you down another. You hoped for immediate relief. I offered gradual transformation. At times this felt confusing. Yet my answers are always rooted in wisdom. A child may ask for something sincerely and still receive a different response from a loving father, not because the father does not care, but because the father sees what the child cannot. I see consequences before they happen. I see dangers before they appear. I see outcomes before they arrive. And because I see farther than you do, my answers often protect you in ways you cannot yet understand. One day, many of the prayers that seem unanswered today will reveal themselves as answered differently. And when that day comes, you will see my love hidden within the delay, my wisdom hidden within the silence, my protection hidden within the disappointment, and my faithfulness hidden within the waiting. Stay close now, because in the next part of this message, I am going to reveal something that many believers desperately need. I will show you how to recognize the season just before breakthrough, the signs that often appear when heaven begins shifting circumstances, the signals that indicate a new chapter may be closer than you realize. And one of those signs is so subtle that most people completely miss it. My beloved child, do not allow temporary disappointment to convince you that your future is hopeless. Do not allow unanswered questions to erase remembered faithfulness. Do not allow today's confusion to blind you to tomorrow's understanding. For I am still guiding you, still protecting you, still arranging what you cannot see, still opening doors that belong in your journey, and still working all things together for your good. Trust me a little longer, walk with me a little farther, for the chapter ahead may contain answers that make this season finally make sense. My beloved child, now I want to bring everything together. Everything I have spoken to you in this message. The waiting, the silence, the closed doors, the disappointments, the hidden work, the unseen preparation, because there is something you must understand before this message ends. Breakthrough does not usually arrive suddenly. It often arrives quietly first. Before change becomes visible in your circumstances, it often begins in your spirit. A shift in perception, a shift in peace, a shift in strength, a shift in trust. And many people miss their breakthrough not because it never came, but because they were expecting it to look different. My child, when I begin to move in your life, there are usually subtle signs, not always dramatic, not always obvious, but deeply meaningful. The first sign is alignment. Things that were once scattered begin to settle. Confusion begins to lose its grip. Certain decisions become clearer. Certain distractions begin to fade. And what once felt chaotic begins to feel ordered in ways you cannot fully explain. This is not coincidence. This is preparation. But there is another sign that often appears right before a major shift. And it confuses many people because it does not feel like progress at first. Stay with me, because this next truth may describe exactly what you have been feeling recently, my beloved child. Before breakthrough, pressure often increases, not because I am against you, but because something within you is being strengthened. Just as a seed must break open before it grows upward, there is often internal pressure before external promotion. You may feel stretched, you may feel uncertain, you may feel like things are being shaken. But what is being shaken is not your destruction. It is your foundation being reinforced. Hebrews reminds you that everything that can be shaken will be shaken, so that what cannot be shaken will remain. And what remains in you is faith. What remains is trust. What remains is endurance. What remains is my presence within you. My child, you are not falling apart. You are being rebuilt. And now I want to speak very directly to your heart, because I know there are moments when you feel tired of waiting, tired of hoping, tired of praying without visible answers. And you wonder if I have forgotten you. But listen carefully, you are closer than you think. The silence is not the absence of movement. It is the final preparation before revelation. Many breakthroughs in Scripture came after long silence. The Red Sea opened at the last moment. Lazarus was raised after death had already settled in. The prison door opened suddenly for Peter. And in each case, what looked like delay was actually perfect timing. My beloved child, I do not arrive late, and I do not act early. I act in fullness of time, when everything is ready, when everything is aligned, when everything is prepared. And when I move, no force can stop what I have begun. And now I want to reveal the final truth of this entire message. If you remember nothing else, remember this, my child. You are not being abandoned in this season. You are being led. Even the confusion is part of the leading. Even the silence is part of the leading. Even the waiting is part of the leading, because I am not only guiding your destination, I am shaping who you become along the way. There is a version of you that only this season can produce. A stronger version, a deeper version, a more faithful version, a more anchored version. And when you arrive at what I have prepared for you, you will not only receive the blessing, you will recognize the transformation within yourself, and you will understand why every step was necessary. My beloved child, do not give up now. Not in the waiting, not in the silence, not in the stretching ... not in the unseen process. Because I am closer than you realize. The answer is not far. The door is not locked forever. The delay is not denial. It is alignment. And when the moment comes, what I have prepared for you will not just meet your expectations. It will exceed them, because I have seen every tear. I have heard every prayer. I have collected every moment of faith. And I have not forgotten you, not for a single moment. And now, as this message closes, I want you to carry one truth into your heart today. Even if everything around you feels uncertain, even if nothing has changed yet, even if the waiting continues, I am still working, and what I am working on cannot be stopped by time, delay, or human limitation. Stay faithful, stay close, stay trusting. Because your appointed moment is closer than your emotions can currently recognize. And when it arrives, you will understand why I asked you to wait. My beloved child, rest in this truth tonight. I am with you. Amen.